There are many hard to answer questions in Doctor Who, and one which is always very confusing is the age of characters. Obviously, it's very hard to figure out how old a certain person is when they spend all their time travelling, but today I'm going to try and make sense of the Doctor's age. First of all, we do need to understand a couple of things. First of all, the Doctor does have a clear line through his life, where he goes through the 12 Doctors, and then there is also the War Doctor. Although there is a lot of other forms and incarnations of the Doctor beyond that, those are the only ones that affect his age up to Peter Capaldi's Doctor. Also, because he's time travelling, it can be very hard for him to keep track of his age. I mean, there isn't day and night cycles on the TARDIS. So we've got to assume that he is estimating. So when he ages a year, it may well be 6 months, it may well be 5 years. However, he still considers it to have been a year. Best place to start is always the beginning. The first mention of the Doctor's age was in the story The Tomb of the Cybermen.
How old?
Well, if we count in Earth terms, I suppose I must be about 400... Yes, about 450 years old.
This is the first time that his age is officially mentioned on the TV show. There is a lot in the extended media to carry this on and confirm this. For example, the fact that we know that Gallifrey in teenage years is 50 years, and that the Doctor was considered just a kid at the age of 90. So putting all that together, it makes perfect sense that the second Doctor in Tomb of the Cybermen was in fact 450 years old. He continues to age in a pretty consistent manner until the fourth Doctor. This is where he starts to get a bit confused about his age though. He keeps staying around about 750, however he would tend to vary between 757 and 749. Then in the Ribos operation, we get the opinion of another person on the Doctor's age. Another Time Lord at that. Romana.
Somebody as old as you are.
I'm not old. What?
759?
756. That's not old. It's just mature.
You've lost count somewhere.
Well, I ought to know my own age.
Yes, but after the first few centuries, I expect things get a bit foggy, don't they?
So in this scene, we learn that the Doctor at this point is either 759 or 756. And let's be fair, Romana's going to be the one that's right in this situation, so 759. So this proves that he continues to be aging at a reasonable pace, and also it is notable that the Time Lords seem to have some way of keeping track of age. Then, again, he carries on aging in a progression as normal. So he is aged at 819 in the 5th Doctor era in one of his big finishes. The 6th Doctor says that he's 900 and over 900 on multiple occasions. And then we get to a specific part in the 7th Doctor story, Time of the Rani. Now this is the first story of the 7th Doctor era.
Well, go on, quick. 953.
Who would have thought she would have been so obvious? That's my age. And the Ranis.
So the 7th Doctor at time of regeneration was 953. So 953 years old. Also the Rani's age. So after that, there's no mention of his age on the TV. There is a lot in the extended universe though, where we find out that he regenerates at 1009 into the 8th Doctor, and then he spends at least 700 years as the 8th Doctor. We do this by looking at various books and big finishes where he spends certain time trapped. So he spends 600 years trapped on the planet Orbis, he spends 100 years on Earth during real time. So we can figure out that when he regenerates into the War Doctor, he is a minimum of 1725 years old.
Incarcerated in the tower immediately with my co-conspirators, Sandshoes and Grandad.
Grandad? They're not Sandshoes.
Yes, they are.
Silence the
And with that event, welcome to Modern Who. The next incarnation was the War Doctor. Now admittedly the War Doctor isn't introduced until about 9 years into the actual series, so we've got to go to the 50th anniversary special to find out how old the War Doctor is.
How old are you now?
Oh, I don't know. I lose track. 1200 and something, I think, unless I'm lying. can't remember if I'm lying about my age. That's how old I am.
400 years older than me, and in all that time you never even wondered how many there were.
So, the War Doctor at the end of his tenure was 800 years old. Yet the 7th Doctor was 953 years old. Now this is where it gets very confusing, because interestingly enough, we've already shown that the Doctor seems to age normally. He might be very wrong about his age, but at least it's consistent. It tends to be pretty much 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 957. However, then here it seems to take a huge step backwards. Now, if we just carry on, we'll see that it goes consistent again.
When you say 900 years...
That's my age.
I'm 903 years old, and I'm the man who's going to save your lives and all 6 billion people on the planet below.
I'm 904 years old. I'm from the planet Gallifrey and the constellation of Castabras. I am the oncoming storm, the bringer of darkness, and you are basically just a rabbit, aren't you?
I'm older than you.
Get away.
I'm 906.
To me, I am 907 years old. Do you understand what that means?
It's been a while.
Yeah, no.
Amy, ask him what age he is.
It's a bit personal.
Tell her. Tell her what age you are.
909.
And since when do you drink wine?
I'm 1103. I must have drunk it sometime.
How old are you now?
I don't know. I lose track. 1200 and something, I think, unless...
So as we can see, it's not as simple as the Doctor just having forgotten his age and making it up on the spot, because there is a clear timeline progression. Sure, sometimes the show likes to get mixed up a bit, but that's just because it's time travel, like in The Impossible Astronaut, they deliberately mess up the timeline, but he himself has a clear timeline. That is, of course, with the exclusion of during the hiatus, where he seems to lose a couple hundred years. Now, I think that the answer to this is very clear and lies within the minisode The Night of the Doctor. For those of you who don't know, The Night of the Doctor is a 6-minute episode which aired just a little bit before the 50th anniversary special and shows the 8th Doctor regenerating into the War Doctor. Now, it starts with the Doctor dying and crashing on Khan, at which point they then bring him back to life. Now, during that, it's very deep on the fact that there's no place for a Doctor, that there needs to be a warrior. Now, when you look at some scenes from in it, then you can see that the Doctor doesn't see this as a regeneration. He sees it as becoming something that he isn't. Almost as if he sees it as the Doctor dying.
I don't suppose there's any need for a doctor anymore. Will it hurt?
Yes.
Good. Charlie, carers, Lucy, Tamsin, Molly. Friends, companions I've known, I salute you. And Cass, I apologize. Physician, heal thyself.
John Hurt's Doctor doesn't consider himself to be the Doctor. He considers himself to be the warrior, the lesser. Just because he happens to be the physical essence of the Doctor does not mean he is. Now, this isn't just from that one line, Doctor no more. This is how he is through the entire Day of the Doctor episode, with him outright stating in a certain scene that he's not the Doctor.
You're the Doctor too.
No. Great men are forged in fire. It is the privilege of lesser men to light the flame.
So considering that the War Doctor is reacting as though he's a completely different person, it makes sense that at some point early in his life he started counting his age from there. He started seeing that he'd been the warrior for 5 years, so he considered himself 5. Now, over the course of 800 years where he was in the war, he probably took that age as his real age, and that's why his age reset. Because when he became the War Doctor, he was no longer the Doctor, and bearing in mind that he had 800 years under his belt, it was a very fair point. Now, when he became the Doctor again, I believe that he just kept that age. That was the age that he was now convinced was his age. And there was where it started. So that's why he then continues to progress. So he goes 900, 905, all the way up to 2000, where we have Peter Capaldi's Doctor. So I believe that through the entire new series, in order to get his real age, he is about 1,700 years older than he is. Well, than he's saying he is. So, if we look at Peter Capaldi's Doctor, when he says he's 2,000 years old, that would make him 3,700 years old. Also, one other point of interest when we're actually looking at this, is if you think about the 10th Doctor, he only actually got 5 years under his belt as the Doctor. Now, bearing in mind that at that time, he would have been nearly 3,000 years old. It actually explains a lot as to why he doesn't want to regenerate, why he's scared of regeneration, because he spent 5 years, where on average, up to that point, we're talking more like 300 years per Doctor. So I just thought that was quite an interesting observation. Now, as per usual, please let me know what you think about this. Am I just being too presumptuous, assuming that the War Doctor restarted his cycle? Am I just being silly, thinking that the 9th Doctor would just carry on with the War Doctor's aging system? I have no idea whether there's something that I've overlooked, so please feel free to leave your opinions in the comments below, and thank you very much for watching. Whilst you're on my channel, feel free to have a look at my other videos. I will have just put up a new Whovian Sins video today that, in my opinion, is a lot of fun. Thank you very much.